We are
Live.
As you might have noticed, me and Brandon are a bunch of stinkies who are wearing the same clothes 3 days in a row.
We don't shower. We've given up for Lent.
It was the first one Monday and now it's Wednesday. No, this is Monday.
Yeah. First one was Friday.
First one was Friday, yeah. So
It's Monday now.
We stayed right here. Lulu baby is right here, and we are happy as can be with our smelly clothes. No, I'm just joking. We are back to back recording these things, so bless you. In this session, we are talking about finance in the ministry and ministers getting paid.
Or anyone in ministry getting paid.
Yes, so this is just our opinion.
Yeah, please.
It's not
doctrine.
Not doctrine. It's not. Well, some of it I do have some scriptures. But it's this is just our opinion.
And our understanding.
Our understanding. Yeah. You want to go first, or shall I?
Go for it.
Okay, cool. So in Galatians, it's where is it? Is it in Galatians or somewhere? But it says that
somewhere,
the person who is being taught needs to share all things with him who teaches. Implying that the person who teaches needs to go and learn what to teach. He needs to be connected to God so that he can teach the people. And I feel like a lot of times, like if you have a job, full-time job, and you are a full-time pastor, you can do it. It can be done, but it becomes you're limited to an extent because, like, if
you have to have a certain kind of life.
If you just have to preach on Sunday and you bring a good word and that's all you need to do, you don't need to follow up with people. If you've got the systems in place, fine. Then you can have your job and you can come and minister, or even if you're like a guest speaker, like if you have a full-time job and you're like an itinerant minister and once a month you go preach somewhere, fine. You don't need to get paid by the ministry. You can have a full-time job and be a minister of the gospel. That's fine. But if you are going to take up the role of someone who is like
heading up a ministry.
Yeah, heading up a
whether
ministry.
It's a church, whether you're a pastor of a church, or whether you're heading up a ministry, or that kind of thing.
So let's
like
use the example of a church. So if you're a pastor and you have staff to manage and to check on and see if that they're spiritually okay and mentally okay and they've got everything they need, plus then you've got a congregation that you have to look after spiritually, you have to find out what you need to spend time in prayer.
There's so much more. You've got to bring the word on Sunday. You've got to
do so much. And if you
weekly meetings, all that, where you bring the word as well.
100%. You got. I mean, if you want to do that, then it would be a lot better if you don't have to worry about finance. That
being said, it's not about being rich. It's like, we're not talking about being rich. But the point is, you don't have to work at finance for somewhere else.
Yes, 100%. So if someone can just help fit the bills, they are being taught fit the bills for human teachers, that type of idea.
I've heard other pastors before using the verse. I'm not sure where it is, but where it talks about every worker is due his wage and whatnot, and it goes on that. If you are as a pastor or a ministry leader of any sort, evangelist or whatever, where you are working, as you say, prepping to give the word 3, 4, 5 times a week and whatever. You're worth your wage because you're prepping.
Yes, 100%.
That makes sense.
And I think that's a very good gauge to go by, because what are you producing? Because I think also, here's the reality. I think there are, unfortunately, some people who are in the roles of pastors and they Google a sermon, like a quick 20-minute sermon. They are very good with talking. So it's not that they are necessarily bringing the word of God. They're not feeding the sheep. They just it's almost like feeding people McDonald's, They just quick, and they are on a holiday during the week. They're flying around with their jets and stuff like that. And I'm not saying jets are wrong. Like God will.
I think we're at the wrong ministry then.
Do anything. We are definitely the wrong ministry then. But so the thing is that there are unfortunately people who exploit that. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about people who are legit, who in different capacities are involved in the ministry. Like for me, for instance, I was asked a while ago to get involved in the ministry for prayer, and I can very much do that. I've got a candle company. I help Amy. I'm a new, new dad, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that I have to do. But with the biggest love, voluntarily, it's a strong passion project for me to be involved with this prayer thing, and that's great. But now the expectation and the requirements are growing, and the whole ministry is growing, and it's not there yet. But in the next 6 months, if we want to take it where they want to go, I will have to do that full time. There's no way that I can do that as a passion project.
And that's I mean, the same thing is like in terms of, and I mean, once before someone said, youth pastor, it's only a part-time job anyway, because what are you going to do all day as a full-time youth pastor?
Yeah.
Let me explain something to you.
Yeah.
As a full-time youth pastor, you will have programs that are so tight. You'll have,
because some people might not.
No, for sure.
The reason why that thought is out there is because people think it's life.
Well, that's exactly. They take Monday off. They take Friday off. They don't come to things. Now, like for me as an example, I don't do that.
Did you for free? You already live at the church.
Basically.
Like passion project.
We joke about that. Yeah, but it is the thing is. I mean, I work somewhere else as well, and I mean, I love what I do there, and that's a family business, a passion as well, so I wouldn't, for me, it's a difficult one, because I wouldn't be able to leave if I was offered a full-time position, because I don't know how I would leave that, because I can't leave that.
Yeah, you can't,
but I can understand. I had a friend who was a youth pastor, and she's no longer a youth pastor, but I mean, when she left, she had she had projects for them, she had 2 years worth of topics, and each month for the month was this, and then there were games for each week, and that's the stuff that you do as a full-time minister. And the same youth ministry, worship can be the same. Our churches have worship pastors, and they can very well
just write songs. They worship together. They have worship practice.
I'm not saying that's the right way. And if you don't do that, I mean, we don't have a full-time worship pastor. We come together and God speaks, and He does, because I think the worship pastor is seeking His face for worship. So or seeking God for worship, that's fine. Same type. That's kind of, I'll go on a Friday, I want to go, but I prep in the week for Fridays. I think about it all week, and I go, Lord, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? Whatever. And I literally on a Friday, I'm like, okay, this is what I felt you want me to do. This is the topic I've prepped or whatever. It's yours, kind of thing. I mean, it sounds very spiritual, but it's not. It's a simple thing of like going like a God. It's in your hands, kind of thing. But the other way is also very important. If there was a full-time person, they are permanently seeking God of what's going to happen next week, and it's easier to have a topic for next week, because that's what they spend their time doing.
Their job,
I mean, councils and whatever. Obviously, they need. If
people need to live.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm not saying that you should get a fat salary for doing nothing. A worker is worthy of his wage.
For sure.
If you do something, there is a certain thing that you're producing something, and you need to be compensated for 100%. That somehow.
Well, you've got to, as you say, I mean, I said as well, I mean, I have a different style of life. I'm single, I have time, I don't have kids, I don't have responsibilities. It's easier for me to do stuff like that. And I think that's part of why I am like that, is because God's allowing that. But on the other hand, not recently, this year, I can't believe it's like 3 months ago already. Last year so I worked the centre in the morning, I taught drums all afternoon, and then I had evening functions, and obviously youth on the Friday and Sundays and whatever, events and whatnot. And I almost got to a point of burning out, not burning out, but definitely burning the candle way too many ends. I was way too exhausted all the time. I couldn't put the effort that I should into either thing really, because I was trying to do too much. So I had to step back from that, and I stepped back from drums. I had to look at the ones I really wanted to, which was the least of it, if I can put it that way. Yes. And financially I took a step back because I needed to have more time to focus on that, so that when I'm done in the afternoon, if I'm available in the afternoon because I don't have meetings or whatever, I can focus. Or even if I have a meeting, I'm meeting at 4 o'clock and I'm done 2 o'clock, I have 2 hours to prep for Friday or to whatever, That it's time consuming. Now that's why you need to get paid for it. Even if it's a part-time job, for example, I get paid part-time, or if that makes sense, to do it, because it's time that's been, I have to put something aside. I had to put aside a paid job to do this. I didn't have to, I chose to, because I wanted to give it a better effort to it.
I mean, ultimately you chose it because you felt called to it.
Yeah, 100%.
And ultimately we're all here because we want to do what.
Well, if you're in ministry and you're not called to it, then I don't know.
What are you doing?
You're not in the right place.
So I mean, ultimately we want to if someone is in ministry, that's why like your money isn't necessarily have to come from the church or your support or whatever. It's like I know this other guy. He's also connected to another Premier League that I know. He's one of those guys who can just pray day and night. He just prays and prays and prays and spends time before God and just prays and he doesn't work. He just prays. But his wife has a really good job and she supports him and she sees it. As far as I understand, their relationship. She sees it as they are doing it together. They as a couple.
Well, she's inputting to the kingdom.
Exactly. She is supporting
100%.
someone who can do this, and the Bible literally says that you will. Paul says, "I don't want your money for my sake. I want your money so that you can reap the heavenly rewards from it." So when you sow into the kingdom, when you help someone do something that promotes the kingdom, and in a legit way, you are absolutely sharing in that ministry. So
then I suppose the question would be, how do you work out what is the worker's wage worth almost? Because I've heard of different ways. I mean, I know of one of them, not certain, that sounds like a bad thing, but one of the movements, they take the average, so they'd say, right, 35 this year, honours degree, what's the average male in that age bracket, with that qualification, with that years of experience at the industry, what do they earn? Cool, they take the average and they pay that to their pastors and their whatever. So they'll go youth pastor, let's say ages 30, what are other 30-year-olds with a degree that work these hours earn? Okay, they earn this much, cool. Let's say it's 20,000 rand, or let's say at the highest is 20 and the lowest is 10, they'll say the average is 15, they'll be 15. That's kind of how they work it out. But then there's others obviously they don't do that. I think the problem comes in when people are in ministry looking for remuneration. You know what I'm saying? They're not looking for it. They're not going to ministry for money. But when they start to discuss this, they go, okay, well, I need this and this and this and this. Where does it go from covering my needs, from needs to wants to a jet? To a jet, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because another thing that I can think of, let's say you decide, okay, you are taking 15,000 rand salary as a youth pastor. Someone else also takes 15. No,
I'm definitely not.
So let's say you take that amount, and someone else also takes that amount, but they want to they're trying to push for more. Whereas you go and you say, okay, listen, I'm rather going to lower my cost of living. I'm going to maybe get a different car, not drive as much, or just lower it.
Current petrol price, we might all be not driving as much.
So now you go and you are much more frugal with your money, and you maybe invest some of it, whereas the other person squanders, or not squanders it, but lives a higher lifestyle. Then let's say in 5 years from now you've saved up enough to buy a fortune. Then so now is that wrong? Because the youth pastor's got a fortune because he was more frugal with his money. That becomes a difficult question as well now, because now someone like you might be paying, even being underpaid, but you are really you don't over the pennies, and you are spending your money well. You're a good steward of it. And I think that's also something to consider, because I think oftentimes when you see pastors who are rich, and you're like, oh well, he's got a fat salary. Meanwhile, they might have just worked well with their money. Or God made a way, or something like that. And
same the other way around. I mean, let's say for example, use me again, and let's say use the two of us. We get the same salary, but you've got a child, and you have another child, I don't get married, so I don't have children. 100%. So I don't have that cost. I don't have to pay for school fees. I don't have all these things that you are paying for. So now you look like you're living like a pastor, if that makes sense.
Because I've got a whole bunch of kids, and I've got
you've got a lot of money, whereas I've got a Fortuna, and I've got a nice house somewhere.
Once a month, or whatever.
Exactly, because I can afford to drive to St. Francis for the weekend or whatever they're funny. I mean,
I think that will become a holiday and it's own to drive to St. Francis.
The petrol price, that's just the holiday. You just drive there and back. You don't do anything when you're there. But it is always questionable. I think the value. The thing is the person really, can you see that there's effort being put in, that they're trying, that their ministry is, and I don't want to say growing, because then it becomes a kind of a thing. Well, if your ministry doesn't grow, we don't pay you.
Product report,
that can't work. I don't think that can work. I think that can only work if, for example, they're taking Monday and Sunday off, or Monday and Friday off or whatever, and they're only working from 9, and then they're only actually rocking up at 10, and they're leaving again at 12 because they're going to go play squash.
You can see someone is not involved.
I think Whereas when you look at people that aren't being paid, they are leaving work. They're working all day. They're coming home, showering, eating, and going to the ministry or going to whatever they do, and they're putting in the effort, and that's being changed. I think the different that and they you see growth and whatever because their effort is more. I don't think for me realistically, I don't even want to talk about the people that aren't doing it. If you're not doing it properly, then take the money away. 100%. Take the ministry away. Who cares about the money? Take the ministry away because you're just wrecking whatever you in charge of. But if you are really, if you're really committed to it and you are doing this and you're working and you're doing your prayer thing or whatever, you can't focus on your other business because you're doing that. So somewhere something's got to give. For me, somewhere something had to give. Driving lessons had to go so that I had more time in the afternoon to relax and have afternoon meetings as well. It's not just. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting every day till 5 o'clock in meetings. There are often meetings, but it's not like that.
I think a good way of judging it, and this is my landing to this.
Where are we?
You can also have a landing.
Sweet.
Is that if you let's say I'm involved as a volunteer, I'm doing it for free. I'm not getting compensated for it all because I've got my own business and I've got some spare time that I can volunteer to do what I feel God has asked me to do. If the thing that God has asked me to do is growing exponentially and the people that I'm working with and for are requiring more of me, I can say to them, listen, this is what I can provide right now.
This is the time I have.
This is the time I have, and I'm not being funny about it because I know some people are weird and they just invoice for everything. But if you legit, you are I have work to do. I can't physically do this. It's not because I'm watching TV and taking a break. It's because I'm working flat out. And I don't have the time to physically actually do the rest of the requirements without getting other compensation or without leaving my job. If I can get money for doing this, sure. And I think then maybe to a large extent it's the people who you're involved with that decide. Oh, okay, cool. Well, do we actually need Brandon, or is it fine? Or is what he can offer okay? That makes sense. Is what he can offer okay? Is what I can offer right now, and that okay? We understand. We don't feel that we want to pay you anything extra, or we don't have any support for you. But we love that you're with us, and we're happy with you. Then it's fine. Then it's all good, and stuff. And I think that would be a good gauge. That if you, if you run out of time.
I think I agree with you 100%. I think even if I look at God or we think of God in the way we think He would do stuff and whatnot, I think that would be the right thing. I don't think God's going to go. I want you to now focus on the relationship, the business, and your fourth part, so you can't pay your bills. That's not going to. That doesn't make sense.
That's not right.
I think if you are in the right place and you're doing it for the right reasons, and they are in the right place, your leadership, and they are doing this for the right reasons, and they've got you in the position for the right reasons. If you come to them like that, they will most likely be like, okay, listen, maybe we can't afford it right now, we're going to work towards it. How can we help you now, or what can we do now to help?
Let's do some fundraising.
Let's do some fundraising, or let's do something to make more.
We've got someone who can create a ministry,
or can we add people to you?
Ministry, but we need to employ them. So can anyone step up? And there are businessmen out there that they pay salaries for them is nothing. Just to add them into the payroll, it is what it is. They build massive developments, or they whatever the business they're part of. Adding a salary is nothing. So God can do that. God can lay it on someone's heart, and I've seen it. Where I know some businessmen who God had spoken to and said, I want you to finance this person in the kingdom. And they would put them on the payroll and they would pay them a salary every month, and this person would go and be able
to be a minister
to do what God has called him to do. I think that's it's interesting. It's interesting.
I think it's an important thing to consider if you're ahead of anything, if you're heading the ministry up, or if you're heading, let's say you're heading a church and you've got the ministry underneath you and whatever, and you wanting to grow this, it's important to consider this, because if they're doing it for the right reason and you're doing it for the right reason, and you're both called by God, apart from God making it possible, you're going to get a better ministry. You're going to get, it's going to be run better. There's going to be more time to focus if you can do that.
The whole thing is going to grow, and
Yeah.
and ultimately, I mean, we're talking about ministry and ministry growing, but ultimately, it's the body of Christ growing.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
becoming more Christ-like,
Yeah.
and that's what we're wanting to do. So,
Sweet.
Yeah, cool.
I
Let
can't
us
end.
know
I
what
can't
you-
end anything else.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, please.
Like let us in the comments
Yeah.
or whatever. If,
Comment, like, share.
what do you
Post.
think? Finance.
Yeah.
and
WhatsApp us.
ministry.
Phone us
Yeah.
if you know us.
Yeah. Let us
If you
know.
don't know us, how did you get our phone number? Stalkers.
I wrote it on the bathroom wall.
That's the good, eh? As long as it's not popping up below here, I'm okay.
100%, yeah, no, it's not. Cool. Like it, guys. See you in the next one. Sweet.